Hi, my name is Oleana Frige, and today I'm going to be talking about the topic of hurtful communication in mediated context. Sorry about my computer, the camera is like broken on it, but my topic is hurtful communication in mediated context. And after reading through the textbook, I really resonated with chapter 5, which is hurtful communication, because it just has so many topics in that chapter that I can resonate with in my personal life. So, and I feel like hurtful communication in mediated context is not talked about enough, and I think it is a problem, especially in my generation, because basically the argument that the book states is, um, do hurtful messages hurt less when they are not delivered face to face? And I have 3 case studies that I'm going to go over today. And after reading those, you can really understand what how this could be a problem. Um, this is also an example of an interpersonal form of communication. Um, okay. So as I said, I found this from chapter 5 of the book. Um, and it relates to the dark side of communication. In our world today, there are so many computer-mediated technologies that give us the ability to communicate in many different forms, sometimes not even talking to a person, which hasn't always been a thing. You can talk to someone through email, through a text, things like that. Um, Computer-mediated context can be known as impersonal because it is not face-to-face, so it's considered impersonal. Um, It can be interpersonal or hyperpersonal. Some may wonder if face-to-face hurtful messages are more hurtful than mediated hurtful messages. This is because of impersonal aspect of the way of that type of communication. Because if you really have something very important to say to somebody, you might wonder, oh, this is the time when I need to speak face to face with this person and not send them a text, because sometimes that can come off as like you don't care as much, or in the book's words, impersonal. Um, and sometimes mediated messages are more hurtful than face-to-face messages because of the way that you perceive a message. Because when you're face to face with someone, you can really read their expression, their tone is super important. Just the way that they're delivering the message to you can be a dead giveaway of if it's hurtful or not. Um, Also, I think this setting of where someone communicates is also the outcome of how well they can communicate. And I believe this is relevant for the topic because sometimes people are more confrontational when they are not face to face. Because if you think about it, like I said, when you're face to face with someone and you're speaking to them, you might be more likely to choose your words more carefully and not be as bold, because I know when I'm face to face with someone, I don't like confrontation. So unless I have to like stand up for myself, I'm probably not going to be like rude to somebody, especially somebody that I'm close to. Okay. So at this time, it is said that there is no scholarship has explored the question, do hurtful mediated messages hurt more when they are mediated and not face to face? There is no proven yes or no to this question, but I do believe that it differs in every situation. And after the 3 case studies, you're going to be able to see why I say that. Every situation is different. Every situation is specific to what they're going through. It really depends on the topic, because sometimes you can text someone about something small and it not be a big deal, but sometimes you can text someone something that you think is small and they take it a different way, which is going to be important after I read the case studies. Okay, so one example of a case study, and I got this one from the textbook, that was very helpful in understanding this topic was when a college student revealed that hurtful text messages amongst close friends is extremely common. Have you ever heard the term, don't have serious conversations over text? I know in my personal life, I've heard that from many different people because a text message can be perceived so many different ways, like I said. Like, you just, you kind of want to avoid that, especially with, a family member, a loved one, a friend. Like, you don't want something that you're saying to be perceived in a negative light if that's not what you're meaning. But this case study refers to that this is extremely common amongst specifically college students. But this is an example of that. Even if your friend is not trying to be completely rude over text, it can be taken this way. This can make use of a different light too. But this can make close friends quick enemies because a friend's obviously going to distance themselves from the friend that they're being rude to, especially if you just receive a hurtful text from somebody that you're close to. These friends in this case study report that they felt that their friendship was made distant because of the hurtful communication and what it was perceived as by them. And it was perceived to be intentional. So obviously, the person is going to probably distance themselves from the other person. And it is also reported that women go through this more than men. And I mean, I could have guessed that being a woman because I've even dealt with things in college where this is why I chose one of these case studies. I mean, this case study to be one of my case studies because this has happened to me before with my roommates. I feel like that's why it happens in college a lot because, I mean, imagine a bunch of girls living in one house. Girls are catty, boys don't really care about that type of stuff. And if they do, they're not going to make a big deal about it. Like, that's just how women are as a whole. But yeah, I think this case study is super important to people who don't understand this topic because that case study alone gives you perspective of what hurtful communication in mediated context truly means. Okay, and then the next ones I have examples on my phone that I'm going to be reading. Okay. So the next case study that I chose is a study that was founded in 2008, and it found that adolescents experience significant hurtful communication through cyberbullying platforms like Facebook and Instagram. I mean, obviously in 2008 there was no Instagram, but Facebook. In one instance, a high school student named Lisa became the target of bullying when a group of peers created a fake social media profile in her name. They posted humiliating photos and false accusations of her personal life. Other students were invited to come and join in, which just elaborated the harassment as a whole. I mean, imagine if you're already having trouble at school and then you're sitting at home and you find these fake accounts just like bashing you as you're sitting alone. It's just horrible. But the impact is that Lisa's self-esteem completely just went to rock bottom and her academic performance was just horrible after this, which is understandable. She began to withdraw from social interactions, both online and in person. She developed anxiety and depression. The persuasive nature of cyberbullying in a public forum worsened the emotional pact as the posts were visible to her entire social circle. This is another thing, like high school is already hard. Imagine your whole school just attacking you and harassing you. The takeaway from this is that cyberbullying in social media context can lead to long-lasting psychological harm. And this is why this is a problem because people don't think, and there's been so many different studies about like cyberbullying and how in the beginning people didn't think it was that big of a deal. And they're like, oh, I'm not bullying. I'm not bullying. Now it's really, really talked about because, like I said earlier, everything in our world today is on a computer, on a phone, on an iPad. Everything is technological. That's why you have to really be careful the words that you choose to say to people. And because you just never know which way it's going to take. And obviously, in this instance, it was intentional because there were accounts made. Like that's bullying. But yes. Okay. So the next case study I want to talk about is one that I referred to in the beginning of this research project. So this one is miscommunication in workplace emails. Um, so this is another study founded in 2008 because I feel like emails were really big at that point. But it's highlighted the potential of hurtful communication in professional emails, and a large financial services company, a manager named David, sent out an email to his team after a project deadline was missed with phrases like, "It's clear some of you aren't putting in the necessary effort." And this email was intended to prompt the team to reflect on the performance, but instead it came across as a very accusatory and dismissive and the team's hard work, which is again understandable. Um, the impact that it had was several team members felt personally attacked and began to disengage from meetings. One employee had filed a formal complaint with the HR, stating that the email created a hostile work environment. The misunderstanding led to increased tension in the team, affecting overall productivity and collaboration. David had to conduct multiple follow-up meetings to clarify his intent and to restore trust. This is why another reason, like personally in my workspace, I have a very small team. Like I think there's 6 of us, and my boss always says, if you guys have a question or if there's a problem, we need to set up a Zoom meeting. And I 100% agree with this because, as you can see in this example, a text message is just perceived not the way that David in this scenario wanted it to be. But then it made it weird for people to go to work and, they felt like probably like, ooh, like, you know, I did something horrible when in fact that it wasn't that bad. The key takeaway is that mediated communication, like email, lacks nonverbal cues, increasing the likelihood of misinterpretation. Um, as it's noted, emails can be easily as perceived as negative than intended, especially in high pressure environments, like a school, a workplace. These are places that are already kind of stressful at times. So having, your colleague or even your boss just be rude to you through an email is just unnecessary because it's just, yeah. But I think that all 3 of these case studies relate back to each other, although they are different, because they all have to do with mediated context. And this is why that I believe as a whole, you can see after I read all 3 of the case studies, the number one problem was rudeness over a nonverbal environment, which resulted in negative things. But yes, so I do think that mediated context, hurtful communication and mediated context is a great topic. I'm so glad I came across it because, like I said, I can really resonate with it. I understand it. I like it. I liked learning about it. And it really gave me a perspective like I don't I don't want to continue to um I don't want to confront friends over text after reading about this because you really don't think about how impactful it truly is until after or until it's too late. And so, yes, that is my research project, Professor. So also I wanted to share my screen and show you my works cited. Hopefully you can see my screen. So this is my works cited. I have cited the 2 case studies that I got from online and then the book. Okay. But thank you so much.